Uranium friends, interesting day today. Let's have a look. So we're going to look at the SPUT Physical Uranium Trust, U.UN here, SRUUF here, daily chart. So quite the move started occurring. Now, if we just take, let's go to 15 minutes just momentarily. I mean, let's see where it started happening. Right around 1 o'clock. It coincides with CCJ at 1 o'clock also. Right around 1 o'clock, right? So 1 o'clock in the afternoon is when the sector kind of got a pump going, right? So I talk about this all the time. It was SPUT was probably at like somewhere between a 12, 13, 14, 15% discount at a good technical level, So um, the tried and true methodology that I kind of check out with this fund worked again, I guess. You can't say anything definitively yet, right? So we need some follow through. We're definitely going to need a lot of action. It's clear to see. I have the arrows here. It's clear to see your major resistance right up here for U.UN. Let's just say it's 2830, right? And SRUUF, it's the same kind of deal, right? $20, 2050 per se. You want to look at these levels maybe, 2050. So 2050, I look at all the rejections at 2050 here. Tons of them, right? Look at all the rejections here at this 28 level. So that ultimately is the level to overcome. So, but what did we see today in U.UN in particular? Let's just kind of take SRUUF out of the picture for a moment. Okay, so big move, wiped out multiple daily stair steps here. It set this higher low right here at support. I mean, it's just crazy what a technical bounce this was. And I'm sure there's going to be some people explaining everything away about fundamentals. And there was news today with the U.S. and planning on deploying capital for nuclear and whatnot. Lame duck session for the Biden administration. You really have to see what Trump is going to do down the road for nuclear, but he seems fairly positive in the nuclear front, and Elon Musk is positive as well. So, two powerhouses that are kind of understand that nuclear is a part of the equation. So, regardless of that small little rant or whatever you want to call it, there is a defining thing here. We did get over this 12 EMA. Good work. We did take out a bunch of these lower highs, so the daily stair step pattern is broken. We did set this higher low, so this level, it becomes important. It becomes very, very important, right? So I got to put an alert there. I'll change the color later, but regardless of that, good spot, right? A good move and some volume behind it. Okay, so nothing crazy special volume wise. But it is some increased volume. So the price moved very well here. And, we'll see what tomorrow brings. We got CPI tomorrow with some data coming through this week with some Fed speakers and whatnot. So, but yeah, there was, the algorithmic buys were occurring. Let me just look at this 5 minute. I'll tell you for sure. So yeah, this is just, ag. And, look at again, that was 2 o'clock. So algorithmic buying there. There's some volume there. It's pushing it up. Maybe this Patrick McGowan guy will tell us that's URA or the ETFs added. We're in the market today. I don't know, but that's the deal. So what is the chances? We look at this now? Okay, so it has a pretty good bounce, but the most likely scenario is a lower high compared to this high. What is it, 28 something, right? 2050. What am I, an SRUUF? I want to be on U.UN, actually. Sorry about that. Let's just look at U.UN instead. But it's conceptually it's the same deal, right? We have to, ultimately what we have to do is get above this level. And it's a very big level, as it acted as a a huge amount of support here. Now it's just been acting as resistance for a very long time, right? But the and this is a little bit better because I think it took out the weekly. Yeah, it did. Maybe by a couple pennies. Let's see what we have here. 2568, 2550. So it did take out that weekly high, which is a nice look. I don't think SRUUF did it, but regardless of that, the what we have here, this is a ramp up in volume, a ramp up in price. That is a bullish candle closing right at the highs through the 12 EMA. We have to contend with this 50-day moving average, which is this line right here, which is in congruence with this 50 EMA, as well as the 26 EMA. So there's a lot going on here, moving average wise. But if we get through this spot, you have a little volume pocket here that could get you up into here. So you start looking at resistance was going to be up here. But the most likely scenario in this particular deal is you have your low, wherever this tops out, you have your high. It's if it just goes straight up and blasts, well, we've got a completely different deal in the sector for whatever reason. I would assume it's going to be news driven of some sort. So I'm expecting some sort of lower high, a higher low, a lower high again, perhaps, and then just starting to get the tightening range until we get the break. That's what I'm looking for. In situations like this. And it doesn't matter across the board, whatever sector you play, whatever equity you play, this is just commonalities among everything, right? So when you get these big drawdowns, you get the volatility, results in equilibriums for a while, and then you wait for the equilibriums to break. So going straight up and blasting through these resistances is not the most likely scenario. Does that mean it's not going to happen? No, it doesn't mean that at all. It could be a news-driven move, and it could be gone in the next day or two, or it can just give it all back after the Fed does his speak. So it looks good. These weeklies, let me just get rid of this. And that's that. The weeklies, there's some work to do here too. U.UN in that respect looks a little bit better. SRUUF, I would imagine maybe it does some catch up tomorrow if this continues. But it took out last week's high, which is nice to see, and a close there. So, but it still have these moving averages that we've got to get through, and we'll wait to see what happens there. Looks pretty good. So let's take a look at the ETFs, the dailies: URA, URNM, URNJ. So URNJ, the weakest, and it took out a lot of supports today. And it wasn't really looking good, but the buyers stepped in, right? So a little bit more volume here. But this is nothing special. And if you remember, I said as this was coming down, I said right in here, I said, I'm expecting a bounce. And I'm also expecting the bounce to reject and make a lower high. And it's what they all did. Every single one did the same thing. URA is stronger, still stronger than the other two. Every single one, that's what they did. So what are we expecting here? So I'm going to take a look at URNM, because it's just going to be something very similar to what I just did with U.UN. So what's the most likely scenario? Well, the most likely scenario is, well, this one could do it. You could get, unfortunately, this wick out here is disastrous. It changes the technical analysis, but maybe we get a lower high here, we get a higher low, and then we can get moving on again. I don't know. I'm expecting there to be chop in here. So it could go sideways for a while. There's not a lot to say about this move. To me, and I know there's this the Elliott wave guys think that this is a bearish impulse. To me, they're bullish impulse. There's nothing bullish about this action to me whatsoever. That could change in a heartbeat, right? Because this is uranium, and that's what it does. But there's nothing bullish to me. It's just the result of this bounce should be a lower high compared to this 48.32 level. There's still some gaps to fill. There's still a gap here to fill. It's a big gap. Traders are going to try to get there. The gap also is coincidentally lining up with the golden pocket, this 61.8. The 0.618 retracement zone. I don't know what to say there. We've got this filled at least. So to me, I'm just taking it day by day. I'm not really acting too much on anything here. If I do, um, I'm going to be like on the individual names at the moment. So, my focus is on CCJ, for example, because, it's showing relative strength. We'll go over it in a minute. But, by no means is this RSI anything that says, oh, okay, well, the drawdown is over. No, it's coming to the midline, which is fine. Um, so there's no question, and I said this also. I'm sticking with URNM, right? So we were talking about this double bottom, and when we made this run and we started drawing down, I said the most likely scenario is a weekly higher low compared to this double bottom. That is still the case. Is it getting too deep for us? Well, this is the 50% retracement right here, so it's gotta hold. So maybe this weekly just gives you a little bit of a tickle down, fills the daily gap, gets down into the 0.618 retracement, gets another bounce, maybe gets a little bit better bounce. You're starting to see how these things go, right? It's just this is basic market action anywhere in any sector, right? So it did some good work here. Of course, it's got to give some back, right? And now it would also make sense with this arbitrary triangle that I drew. But we'll see. There's a chance that this is the weekly higher low and it takes this out. So you might end up getting something to this effect to just get right out of here. Right. And that would mean just, why did it do that? That would mean just, coming up here and being, doing things that we want to see and resuming the trend. I don't know. Okay. Um, I'm taking it one step at a time. The way I see it, though, is this is a 50% retracement. So the likelihood of let's just see what the monthly looks like. Yeah, I mean, if you take a look at the monthly now, barring those things, um, this monthly lower high is set because it breached the low here. Well, it's not the best look. So this short-term stuff has got to save us here. Uh, just very good though, right? We got this little bounce, but it's early, about halfway through the month. So that's what I'm seeing on these ETFs. Let's get back to the dailies. Let's take a look at URA because that is undoubtedly the stronger name of the ETFs. I do have to start bringing nukes in. I keep forgetting to do that. So URA did not breach its lows that it formed on this last drawdown, and it lagged the drawdown and it led the bounce, right? So good. It's just the sign of relative strength. That's all it is. So we're just, as far as I'm concerned, we're just continuing in this daily downtrend, right? You have your high, you have your low, you have your lower high, you have your lower low, you have your lower high. We're waiting to see what happens here. So if this is set, which it's not, right? So this is not this low is not set yet because it did not take out this high on this daily. So URA needs to take out 3102, hopefully tomorrow. But you've got your 12 EMA that's acting as the resistance guide right now, sandwiching up in between these moving averages. The moving averages are coming together, and if you've listened to my videos, it's what I like to see. I want to see the moving averages come together because when they get stretched out, they need to reconcile. So they're coming together, and that's also a good look. Patience would be the name of the game here. Just observation, I'm sneaking in some calls here and there on some individual names. I've posted it. The 4Us, there's very little premium on their calls for the December 20s. Next gen, the same deal. It's very, very little premium. So you're talking about a stock substitute with much less capital outlay and leverage. I like those types of setups. But I size differently, right? So, they could go to zero. Or in the options game, if you lose 20% on a position, it's likely that options, those calls aren't going to play out too well. So there's nothing that says you can't put stop loss orders in on options too. So continuing on the downtrend until further notice. So it needs to lose the downtrend, and truly for it to lose the downtrend, it has to take this level out here, right? So, but first step is to take out, what day is it today? To take out Monday's high. That's the first thing we have to do with these ETFs. And URA is stronger, and that would be the one that I'd be looking to for clues for the other names. CCJ, strength in CCJ, right? So here, and I pointed it out, and this is it. I mean, you could see this is algorithmic, right? So somebody came in and started hitting the $55 strikes for closing out this week, expiring this week. So market makers got into hedging mode to make sure they can cover for those calls. But we're tapping up right at the resistance here, right? Big resistance. So the metric really for now is 54.48. We got to get over that. And did it do it? Yeah, it did. 54.67. So it took that out. So your next resistances are going to be right here. This is going to be the next spot. So 55.75. So those calls are just in that spot. That you could see it get pinned. I don't know. There's data coming out this week and Fed speak, but this is a good look. Nothing special about the volume. Full blown, full bodied candle. Like to see that too. CCJ, if I'm going to be looking to play individual names, CCJ has the strength. It's just that simple. That's where I'd be looking to take a bullish bet, which I did. I bought some CCJ today. I bought some calls. You got a dividend coming up too. Yippee. Okay. And they did raise their dividend. So that's the deal. This 4-hour, I've posted many times. Last week I posted a bunch of stuff. The 4-hour falling wedges were the place to be looking, right? So CCJ broke out of its 4-hour falling wedge, back tested it and held, and now it's off. So we just got to take out some resistances here, and then we'll be good to go. So that's the deal. I'm watching CCJ. I also noticed that next gen strength in next gen today too, right? A little bit more strength in next gen today than there was in CCJ. If you just think about resistances and whatnot. So next gen is up testing this area, this consolidation area. Sorry. CCJ has not done that yet, but I'll assume that it's going to do it tomorrow. Would be my guess. That'll do it tomorrow. But next gen is also showing relative strength compared to the sector, right? So let's just see what UEC is doing. Yeah, a lot weaker. Different look on these dailies, right? Denison, what does Denison look like? Yeah, Denison a little bit better. So these guys are a lot of these things. Did we fill this gap? No, we didn't fill the gap yet. There's also possibly one down here. Denison looks a little bit stronger too. So, we're getting these breaking out of the falling wedges. Now look, Encore's a different story, this 4-hour falling wedge. So there's weakness here. All right. So does it become the laggard play? Who knows? But that's the deal. We got some Fed ease and whatnot, and CPI and PPI, all that stuff coming on this week. So we got to see how the markets react to that. All right. Over and out.